A little over 2 years ago, I could barely afford this cookie cake and this very small studio rental for our signing party. But fast forward to today, and our talent's booked on national commercials with A-list artists, TV shows, movies. But like, honestly, how did I even get here? Because truthfully, I feel like it happened overnight. And that's not to say that I didn't put in the work. Everything that I've done these past 2 years, every email I've sent, every networking event that I've gone to has been to get me to where I am today. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that the growth wasn't consistent. Like, we really struggled for like a year and a half. And then literally, I feel like I woke up one morning and we had all these avails, we had all these bookings, we started getting direct bookings. I was getting invited to like these red carpet events. Like it literally just, I woke up one morning and it just happened. Like, Briizy was successful. But okay, let me back it up because obviously it did not happen overnight. So what did it take to get here? Now, I'm gonna be honest, I did have a little tiny bit of a leg up when I started the agency. Once upon a time, I was a professional dancer and an actress a little bit. So I obviously had at least some knowledge of the industry. Backing up even further though, fresh out of high school, I did try to make a go of a professional career. As with most people, it just like didn't work out. I was very much enjoying what I was doing. I never once hated dance ever, but I definitely wasn't booking the things that I wanted to book or even getting the auditions that I wanted to get. And then COVID happened, yay. And people were doing Zoom classes and like Instagram live classes, and I hated dance. I've never said that before, but during that time, I hated dance. It was so stupid. Like, why are we doing this? So I quit and I decided that I was never gonna look back. As one naturally does, I found myself in law school during COVID. To be honest, I kind of just felt like it was never ending. Originally, I was a college dropout, so I was like, I'll just go and get my bachelor's, you know? But then like the 2-week lockdown turned into like 3 months, and then it was 6 months, and then it was like, who freaking knows? So then I was like, might as well go get some education. Why not? And of course, it was during law school that my dance career decided to finally take off. I remember when they opened the studios back up and they took away the mask requirement because I cannot dance in a mask. I am too out of shape. Even when I was in the best shape of my life, dancing with a mask on was like, I was dying. Anyways, I'm so dramatic. I started taking more dance classes, and I don't know how I never knew this before, but some other dancers that I had been taking class with told me about like Backstage and Actors Access and casting networks. I don't know how I never knew about that. But anyways, I was like, you know what? I'm working at a criminal defense firm. I've got some extra cash. Let's just get on all of them. So anyways, I joined all of those. I was submitting myself like crazy, and I feel like during my second year of law school, things just really started to take off. I was doing like multiple music videos every single week. I got a couple of live shows. I was doing TV shows. That's when I kind of started to step into acting. And then out of nowhere, I got this Verizon commercial. So yeah, things just really started to take off during my second and third year of law school. And then in December, I graduated, and my intention was to give up dance once again and really take a career in probably criminal defense law, but I was open. So graduated in December, and then in January I got a phone call that I booked Super Bowl with Usher. You don't say no to Super Bowl. You don't say no to Super Bowl with Usher either. So I said yes, sign me up. I will be in Vegas tomorrow. I got to Vegas, and I should have known this, but I was still under the impression that I was going to be able to take the bar exam. Like, of course I can do it. Like, I made it through law school and dance professionally, so like I can make it through the bar exam. No, that's not how that works out. Obviously, there were very long days. It was like 12 to 14-hour days. On top of that, I should have known this, but I did not realize just how like close set it was gonna be. Anytime we were in the stadium, which again was like 12 to 14 hours a day, we had our phones on us physically, but they were in yonder bags, so it's not like we could access them at all. So I could not pull out my phone and study on breaks or during lunch or anything like that. You also had to travel very light because you were with like 500 other people. So it's not like I could bring one of those like giant books with me to study. So anyways, that entire time leading up to Super Bowl, and then obviously Super Bowl Sunday, I did not study a single bit. And of course, me in my mind, I'm like, that's no problem. Like, Super Bowl ended and I had like a week and a half until the bar. Like, I can do that. That's no problem. The California bar, no less. Yeah, no. I sat for the bar exam. Honestly, I felt pretty good about some of my essays, and I got really good scores on them. I think I got 65s and 70s, which not bad for somebody who didn't study, but my multiple choice, I just bombed it. So anyways, failed the bar exam. And it was at that moment that I needed to get real because I was no longer working my criminal defense job. I was broke as a joke, but hey, I did Super Bowl. So then I was like, okay, do I continue to allow myself to be a struggling, very, very hungry artist? Do I try the bar exam again? Which I strongly considered, but when I was looking at the timeline, it just didn't make sense. The next bar exam I could take would be July. You get results in November. Now it's already the next year before I can be practicing attorney. That wasn't gonna work. But at that point, I was like, well, what in the world could I possibly do? And that's kind of when the agency idea started floating around in my mind. I basically dedicated all of my savings to starting this. I'm not going to get into all the logistics, but there's a lot of money involved in starting a talent agency. So I went through all that process and I got started. I had zero money left over. So now what do? A lot of new agencies specifically, they like to do in-person auditions for their first one because it's fun and exciting. You get like buzz around your name and stuff, but I just didn't have the money for it. So what can we do instead? I posted on Instagram. Naturally. Surprisingly, we got a really good turnout. I think we had like 100 submissions in the first weekend. The only thing that I do want to say, just in case other people interested in starting an agency see this, they were not all quality submissions. So yeah, you're like, oh, I have 100 people to choose from, but some of them are like green. Some of them literally just want to be signed just to say that they're signed. They don't actually want to put in the work. And maybe a handful actually are serious about their career and actually at a caliber that it makes sense for you to represent them. With that being said, I am not trying to put anybody down because I appreciate every single person that I have ever represented, whether it turned out great or not so great. At the end of the day, as an agent, you have to remember that just as much as you're taking a chance on them, they were taking a chance on me because who am I, you know? I'm a dancer turned agent. Nobody knows me. I'm not on any casting platforms. Like, in all honesty, what can I offer you? But I will say I have like 4 or 5 people still on my roster today that I had on my original roster. And they are my day ones. Like, I would do anything for them. And obviously they would do anything for me because they've stuck with me this long and we're just like a powerhouse team. I think we both started from like this lower level. Usually when you start with an agency, you know, you might be down here, but the agency is already up here. Whereas we started, we were both on the same playing field and we are both rising together. So now they understand what it is that I expect of them and vice versa. I know what they need from me. So I just think those relationships are a little bit more special. Not that all my clients aren't special to me, but you know, they just mean a little bit more. Okay, so literally, how did we start from zero and all of a sudden we are booking national commercials and A-list artists and movies and TV shows and all the fun things? We definitely took it in stages. You know, we could go back and forth on this all day, but I did start my agency on Backstage. I know there are scams on there. I will say that my agency was never scammed. I think I have a good eye for, you know, knowing when things aren't feeling right. But I do know that there have been people who have been scammed on that platform, so I don't want to talk only positively about it. But I will say it was definitely the right place for us to start. You know, yes, we took some lower paying gigs for sure. But on the other end of that, I will say we had some really cool and really big bookings come from that too. We had an Ira Star and AP Dylan music video. We had a Bad Bunny music video. Oh, we had a T-Mobile commercial. I'm sure there were other things, but that's top of mind. I also focused really heavily on cold outreach. Obviously, I knew a lot of choreographers already, so that was helpful, but I did not know any casting directors. So those connections had to be made very cold. And not only did I have to do cold outreach, but I also had to keep them warm after I made that first initial outreach to them. In case you don't know, you do have to have either letters of recommendation or SAG franchisement or whatever, but basically it all comes down to relationships in order to join casting networks and breakdown services. So I knew if I wanted to do that, I needed them to know me well enough and to trust me enough to be able to write me a letter of recommendation to get me on these other platforms. And I think all of my clients, even today or 2 years ago, they could probably all attest that transparency has always been my #1 buzzword. I wanted to be credible, I wanted to be transparent, and I just wanted trust because that's what you need to make it in this industry. So I feel like after we started getting some traction on Backstage, that's when we were able to scale a little bit more. So yes, we had to take those little like YouTube short, low paid student films, you know, that sort of things. We had to take those types of jobs. I still wasn't pushing my clients to do free work by any means, but definitely, you know, like the little background work here and there. Yeah, absolutely. Whatever we can do to make a casting director feel like they can trust us and that we're appreciative of any opportunity that they're willing to offer us as well. So we started building those up. And then, like I said, we started getting those little bit bigger bookings when it came to Backstage. And so that's when I finally felt like, okay, I have made the connections that I need to make. I have done what I need to do as an agent in order for these casting directors to trust me a little bit more. And so that's when I started asking for letters of recommendation. It still took a couple months to get people to really feel like they could trust me. And I will also say I'm very surprised by this, but a casting director actually recommended to me that we at least try to do some sort of event. So we put on a showcase. It was very, very low budget again. And we didn't have a whole lot of casting directors come out. But me sending personalized invitations to every single one of them made a huge difference, because after that weekend of the show, and I thanked everybody, even if they couldn't make it, I still thanked them for their time. And I also sent a link to our entire roster just so that they could see them. But anyways, after that weekend, I got a bunch of letters of recommendation. I think I got 8 or 9. And over half of them weren't even at the event. So, you know, credibility is also you showing up, you know, and you just being a good person. Like I said, all of the invitations that I sent out, I hand wrote them and I hand delivered most of them as well. So anyways, then we got on casting networks and things were just going real smooth. We have access to all these extra castings. There's national commercials. There's even more A-list artists. They're not so few and far between. Everything is paying like a couple $1,000s for just one day of work. It was like such a jump. But obviously that doesn't mean that we're gonna get bookings. It just means that we now have access to submit to them, which is a big difference. We have been submitting and submitting and submitting over the past year and a half-ish. I've been strengthening my network. I've been going to red carpet events when I'm invited. I've had universities reaching out to me. I've done speaking engagements. Like literally whatever I can do to get more industry people on my side, I'm doing it. And then I also had to take another look at my roster, because a lot of people that I had signed in the beginning, like I said, they only wanted to be signed because of the title of being signed. You know, they would get auditions and they wouldn't actually complete them. Or I had other people get auditions and they would just ignore them, like never check their email, anything. I even had one person accept a booking and then no show, which is like, I can't even explain how not okay that is. So anyways, I also really had to take a look at my roster, and it's like, okay, I'm growing up to these next levels and some of my talent, they're still down here. So, you know, it's a hard decision to make sometimes, but I did have to let quite a bit of people on my, like I said, I only have like 5 people from my original roster. So I let a lot of people go in order to make space for these new people who are actually hungry and who will actually do their auditions. And I think that really is where the change happened. It seemed like after I brought on people to my roster that were just as trustworthy as I was to the casting directors, now the casting directors felt like, okay, like we can trust not just this agent, but we can trust this agency. And then I started having choreographers refer talent to me. And when I would sign their referral to me, it kind of created like a little bit of a deeper bond, because now there's a different level of trust between us. Like I trusted you enough to sign somebody that you recommended to me. And not that I did it for this reason, but doing that has led to direct bookings, because now they're like, oh, I love that agency. She signed my person. I want to hire my person now. And then we have casting directors who are actually remembering us, because now when they send us something on casting networks and I make sure that all of my clients are accepting or declining in a reasonable time, and not only that, but actually submitting when the deadline comes, now they trust us and they're like, yeah, Briizy's legit. Like if we're going to ask them for something, they're going to deliver. So as much as I guess I'm sitting here feeling like it happened overnight, because it kind of did, I definitely took all the steps to make it happen myself, you know? So I'm gonna pat myself on the back for that. You know, I saw what this industry needed and I saw what casting directors were hungry for, and I delivered. So like, hell yeah. Anyways, I don't know the purpose of me making this video. I just kind of sat down and word vomited at you. But I guess if I can help a dancer achieve their goals, or an actor or a model, like it's kind of all entangled, or if I can help somebody who's considering maybe opening their own agency, or just somebody who's curious about the industry and like what it takes to do what I do what my dancers do. I don't know. I just thought this would be a cool piece of content that could live on the internet forever. Okay, I actually have a montage that I put on my Instagram and YouTube Shorts. So I'm gonna end it with that because that's cool or whatever. A little bragging moment. But I don't know, if you guys enjoyed this content, maybe give me a thumbs up or leave me a cool comment or subscribe. That would be even better. And if you didn't like it, that's okay too. All right, make sure to stick around to see all the cool stuff that we've done, and I will see you in the next video.